to the previous day. We're going to just go start from that Gufa. We'll run through that. Gufa, in the art scroll, it's 18A, what is it, 18A1? Bless you. 18A1 on the right column, Gufa. Okay? You got it at your own? You check them out.
18A1?
Yes. Gufa. Omar Rava. Rava said the following. Zdor she'ochal min ha'olah l'pnei zrika chutz l'choma. Mr. Safdie, you got it? A Zdor, a non-Kohen, that ate from the carbon olah. The carbon olah is supposed to be completely consumed on the Mizbeach. What do you say? Even a Kohen can't eat it. So if he ate from it, what's the halacha? The halacha is he gets, according to Rav Shimon, there are five sets of, there are five, the language of the Gemara is Loke Chamesh, he gets five Malkut, but according to Rashi's understanding, it means there's at least five Isurim, there's five prohibitions that are being violated. Good morning, Dr. Navid. And there might not be five sets of lashes, but there'll be only a certain amount of sets of lashes, but there's five Isurim, definitely five violations. How many of them become lashes is a different question, but there's five violations that are happening when a person who is a non-Kohen goes ahead and he eats from a korban olah outside of Yerushalayim. That's the statement that, and like we said, number one, he's a non-Kohen. Number two, it's outside Yerushalayim. Number three, it's something that's supposed to be completely burnt. You know, there are different, or it's supposed to be, you know, it's before Zrika, it's before the sprinkling of the blood. In Rashi enumerates the different violations on Yud Zayin and Beis. Okay, so now the Gemara says, why only five? Why are you being so easy on the guy? The cop is only writing him 5 tickets. It should be a 6th ticket, right? Meaning, why isn't there a 6th violation when he? So the Gemara is going to be offering he's missing a few, but the Gemara is starting one at a time. The Gemara is going to be looking through the Torah as the Torah in front of it, in front of the Gemara. Say why don't we put a violation because of this mitzvah of the Torah? Okay, then the Gemara will say, okay, you can't put that one. Well, I found another one. So the Gemara is going to do one by one. That's what the Gemara wants. Right. But you see, the fact that Rava is very specific. You see, once Rava counts 5, that means when you're counting a number. So if you wouldn't say a number, so then there could be many more. But if you say a number is very concise and very specific. And therefore, and if you're going to tell me 5, and if it could be 6, when you tell me 5, you're coming to exclude a 6. We have that concept that a minyana, you find like in the Gemara, Baba Kama that we learned, right? Abba avot nezikin. There are 4 categories. So the Gemara, what is the number 4 coming to exclude, right? So every time you tell me a number, and if we could figure it out without counting, so the number is coming to exclude. So that's what the Gemara is saying. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, Rabbi.
Morning. And I think we have someone else also that joined. I don't know if that's Mr. Batesh that's to join. I don't know if that's Mr. Batesh. Thank God his hip operation went well. I spoke to him yesterday. He was supposed to be released yesterday, Ralph. So he had the operation 2 days. He had the operation 2 days ago. He had the operation today. Is Thursday. He had it on Tuesday, and hopefully he was supposed to be released yesterday.
Wow, that's great.
He said he heard that Ralph is playing golf already. But we hope so. Okay, we hope so very soon. Okay, so the Gemara says, "V'luki nami why are you telling me when this non-Kohen does this sin of eating from the Korban Olah outside Yerushalayim, why are you telling me there's only 5 violations when there should be a 6th one? What's the 6th one? We have a pasuk in the Torah that says, "V'zar lo yochal." The Torah says that the non-Kohen, this is talking about by the Miluyim. This is talking about when they set up the Mishkan, and the pasuk says that the Kohen, it says that the non-Kohen can't eat this food. This food, the korbanot, some of the korbanot that were brought are specifically supposed to be eaten by the Kohanim. It says, "Ochlu otam Aaron uvanav." Aaron and his sons should eat from the korban. But the Torah says, "V'zah lo yochal." The non-Kohen, Ralph, good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome. Good to see you on the screen. You should have 4 shalema. So the Gemara says, no, I don't know if it's him. It's someone else's iPhone. It wasn't identified. So the Gemara says.
It's fine. Stay here.
So the Gemara says, I found a new pasuk. I found a new pasuk to teach me another prohibition for a non-Kohen eating holy food. Because the pasuk says, Ralph, you able to hear us?
Yeah.
Very good. We found another pasuk. Don't forget, Ralph, to say the Birkat HaTorah, the blessing of the Torah first, before we learn. Don't we have to remember to? Beautiful. How do you like that? Okay. So the Gemara said, but we want to know about. We have more tickets. We have more prohibitions. That's the question. Why are you only stating that there's 5 prohibitions? Good morning, Jaime.
Good morning.
We are on 18A in the right corner, 18A1 in the right corner. Just quoted Rava, Gufa Amar Rava. So Rava said, right. We have a losas there. Rava says we have 5 prohibitions for a non-Kohen eating the Korban Olah. That's supposed if he eats it outside Yerushalayim, there's 5 prohibitions. We brought it. We're from the pasuk lo sochal. Each one. I mean, some of them might carry lashes. Some of them might not carry lashes. The 5 violations. Sometimes you get a violation. They get points on your license. Some violations you don't get points on your license, right? Seatbelt, you might not get points. I don't know. So there's certain violations that is a violation that carries lashes. Some of them might not carry lashes. They're all different types of violations that are being violated when you're not a Kohen and you eat it outside the Korban Olah, which is supposed to be completely burnt on the altar, and you ate it outside Jerusalem before the sprinkling of the blood. He's going to get, there's 5 violations. I said, that's the question. How do you translate the word lokeh chamesh? Because lokeh chamesh means actually you give 5 lashes. Well, lokeh chamesh means there's 5, he violated 5 things. And he's responsible. He's going to be responsible for 5. There are 5 penalties, whether the penalty is downstairs to the court or upstairs in heaven. He's done 5 violations. So the Gemara says, but we have a 6th violation, because there's another pasuk that says about a non-Kohen not eating from holy foods. The pasuk says, and therefore that should teach us the same way that the non-Kohen was not able to eat from the foods that were brought for the inauguration of the Mishkan, when they set up the Mishkan. Good morning, Simon, and they brought special offerings. The Torah says, the Kohanim eat from these offerings. but the non-Kohen doesn't eat from these offerings because these offerings are Kodesh. These are holy. This is holy, holy stuff. This is Kodesh Kodashim, and a non-Kohen can't eat it. So the same way the Torah says that a non-Kohen can't eat that, so it should apply, this pasuk should apply also for a Korban Olah, which is holy, 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 it's Kodesh Kodashim. That should also apply the prohibition for non-Kohen can't eat it. The same way the Torah says, the Torah gave a reason. Why can't a non-Kohen eat from the food that was brought, from the Korban that was brought on the inauguration of the Mishkan? It's because this food is holy, holy stuff. And therefore, the non-Kohen can't eat it. Only the Kohen can eat it. So that should apply to a Korban Olah as well, not being brought as part of inauguration of a Mishkan. Anytime a person would bring a Korban Olah, the Torah, since it's holy, and the Kohen and the non-Kohen cannot eat something that's holy, so therefore it should apply to him as well. The fact that you brought it as a holy, holy Korban, the fact when you designate an animal to be brought, or it could be a flower offering, whatever it is, there are certain items.
Would a Kohen get 5 punishments or 4?
It would seem that the Kohen would get four punishments. Only the non-Kohen.
Non-Kohen will up to 6, and the Kohen gets 4.
Right now, right, exactly. So what Mr. Habers asked is that the way when you say you make something, you designate something as korban. You take an animal, you say this animal is a korban olah or a korban chatat. Once you designate it, then that designation, that's exactly that designation that makes it holy. So now,
if no one could eat it, why isn't it all treated equally? No one could eat it.
But the Torah gives a separate prohibition. The Gemara's understanding, there's a separate, no one can eat it, so that's one violation for everybody. That's one violation on the books for anybody. But now we have an extra violation, the Gemara says. That's what the Gemara is asking. The Gemara is asking that we have an extra violation from the fact that the Torah says that a non-Kohen cannot eat holy, holy stuff, which is called Kodesh Kodashim. A non-Kohen can't eat holy, holy stuff. So therefore the Gemara is saying here we have another verse that emphasizes a non-Kohen can't eat holy, holy stuff. So why don't we give us an extra violation based on this verse? Meaning we already have a verse that everybody accepted that a non-Kohen can't eat holy stuff. But the Gemara is coming up with another verse that's teaching us morning. We have found another verse that should apply. So the Gemara says the following. Hani mile heichi de lekohanim chazi. This, when this pasuk, what's the context of this pasuk? The context of this pasuk is, here we are on the designation of when they're setting up the Mishkan, and the Torah says, you know what, I want the Kohanim to eat from this food that's being brought, 18a, but the Kohanim need to eat from this food. But the non-Kohen can't eat from the food. So the type of food that the verse is talking about, when the pasuk is saying that the non-Kohen can't eat it, is a food that's fit for a Kohen. This type of food is fit for a Kohen, but this food is not fit for a Kohen, because this food is a olah. This food, this animal that you want to apply that violation, you want to apply it to this case, but it's not a match, because the context of this violation is given specifically for a food that's able to be eaten by a Kohen, that's not able to be eaten by a non-Kohen. Like, for instance, a korban chatat or a korban mincha. The Kohen eats from the korban chatat, the sin offering. The non-Kohen can't eat from the sin offering. But here, where even the Kohen can't eat from it, so the Torah, that's not the case. The case of the Torah, the context of this violation that's on the book that said a non-Kohen can't eat because it's holy, that context of that violation is referring to a type of food that's eaten by a Kohen. That's where the non-Kohen can't eat from. But if the food is not eaten by a Kohen, that's not where the Torah is placing this violation. So that's what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, Hani Mile, when is this pasuk talking? When is this violation of the Torah referring to? That's talking about Hani Mile, when the Kohanim Chazi, when it's fit for the Kohanim. However, but this one, Hacha de Kohanim Nami lo Chazi. For the Kohanim, we're now on 18A2, top of the page, 18A2, but over here, the Kohanim is also not fit to be eaten from, because this is a korban olah. This is an animal that's supposed to be completely consumed on the Mizbeach, on the altar. So the Gemara says, you know what? I found another pasuk in the Torah. What's another pasuk in the Torah? Mishum basa basodeh treifa lo sachelu. You know, if an animal was ripped apart, let's say an animal was injured, and the injury was such a strong injury that the animal's going to die as a result of the injury. And let's say the animal got ripped, got attacked, and a hole in the animal's lung. So the law is you can't eat such a food. That animal, even if you're going to go ahead and slaughter the animal, right? It doesn't help. That's called a treifa. A treifa, good morning, good morning, Ariel. A treifa is an animal that has a internal blemish that's going to die within the ear. You know, and that type of animal, even if you slaughter it, the Torah forbids you from eating that animal. That's a treifa. Now the question is, the Gemara says, the Torah says ubasa basodeh. The Torah says the word. Where did it take place? Where did the ripping of the animal where did it get injured? It got injured in the field. Now, the Torah did not need to say that it got injured in the field. The Torah could just say an animal that gets injured, it gets ripped apart or gets injured in a way that it's going to die within the year. By the way, I think the Sefer Chinuch tries to suggest perhaps that maybe the food is not healthy. If an animal has and that's going to die within the year, the Torah doesn't give a reason why you can't eat from such an animal that has this internal blemish. By the way, that's why after they slaughter an animal and they check the lungs, one of the things that they check to see if there's any holes in the lung, because if there's a hole in the lung, that would mean that the animal was a treifa. That means there was something wrong with the animal, and therefore it would, we find a nail in the lung, or you file any of that stuff, that's defective. And therefore, even though they did a whole slaughtering, the animal was walking, but it doesn't make a difference. That will be a non-kosher animal. But why does the Torah have to tell us where the attack took place? What a basa basodeh, in the field, wherever it happened. You could say the Torah is talking about the normal case. Where does an animal get attacked? Well, let's say an animal gets attacked in the barn, or wherever the animal gets attacked. What's the pasuk emphasizing? The field. So it's coming to teach us another law. Another law the Torah is teaching us. Let's see, the Torah we have a written law. We have the Torah is given with an explanation, with an oral law, with a Torah Shabbat Peh to explain why the Torah writes it in this fashion. So there's the Shuto Shel Mikra, there's the simple reading of the verse, and then there's the more deeper, or what the other thing that the pasuk is coming to teach us. So it's coming to teach us the following: that if the meat, if meat, let's say you have Kodesh Kodashim. Let's say you have an offering, you consecrated it, you said this animal should be a korban chatat, a holy offering. And what happens is, and you brought the food and you brought the korban to the Beit HaMikdash, and then you slaughtered the animal in the courtyard of the Beit HaMikdash where you were supposed to slaughter the animal. And then you took the meat outside. You brought it outside the courtyard. The meat is supposed to be eaten in the court. The meat of holy, which is Kodesh Kodashim, is eaten in the courtyard. You don't have the whole Jerusalem. The light kachim, light stuff, let's say a korban Pesach is called light, a Thanksgiving offering is light, you have the whole Jerusalem to eat it. But when it comes to, and you can't take it out of Jerusalem, but when it comes to the holy, has to be eaten in the courtyard. But not only, again, it's only eaten by the Kohanim, it's only a limited amount of people that are eating it anyways. And it's not allowed to leave the courtyard. And the pasuk is teaching us, Baseh basodeh. Basodeh is outside, it's like the field. The field, it has no, it's in the open, it's outside, but it doesn't have those borders, those boundaries. If it's outside, Baseh basodeh, if the meat leaves the confines of the courtyard, the walls of the courtyard, it goes out, goes in open space, like outside the courtyard, then that meat is forbidden to be eaten. There's a prohibition to eat the food, the holy food, the korban, once it left its proper location. You can't, if it leaves the courtyard, now there's a prohibition. Jaime, is that clear? If it leaves the designated area, that's what the Torah is teaching us. No. An animal that was a korban that you're supposed to, let's say a korban chatat. The guy. Oh, 1 second. That's the Gemara. Now the Gemara wants to apply this. So we have on record, we have in the Torah a prohibition for food, for a korban. Right. And the Torah is teaching us, so if you have a korban, a korban that's holy foods, Kodesh Kodashim, that meat, if it leaves, it can't leave. And if it leaves, has to stay in that confinement. And if it leaves, there's a prohibition for you to eat that. There's a prohibition now on that food, on that animal, on that meat to eat. Right. Now, what do you say? Even if you're Kohen. So now, even though you brought it back in, but once it left, now there's a prohibition. So now the question is, this korban olah, now let's bring it back to our case. Here we had a korban olah. It's true. No one was allowed to eat this korban. It's true. But it's part of the classification of holy foods. Holy foods. Now, so the Gemara is saying the same way, a korban chatat, the Torah says, when holy foods leaves the confines of the courtyard, it kicks in a prohibition on eating it. So the Gemara is suggesting, why don't we say that if this olah left the courtyard, it went out of Jerusalem, right? And now the Kohen eats it, shouldn't there have been shouldn't this violation, a new violation called leaving the confines of the courtyard, have kicked in on this korban olah the same way it kicked in on a korban chatat? They're both holy foods. And it's true, this holy food you can't eat for a different reason. No one can eat it. But the fact is, it's holy foods, and we have a rule on the books that says when holy foods, Kodesh Kodashim, leaves the confines of the courtyard, there's a prohibition to eat that food. So now this korban olah, this offering, this that was supposed to be totally consumed on the altar, If it happened to be that this one left the confines of the courtyard, it went out, so you should say that what, and another punishment, which would be number 6. That's the Gemara's question. Why don't we apply the verse of the Torah that says, when holy foods leave the courtyard, there's a prohibition to eat it? Why don't we apply it as equally as well to this carbon olah? That it's true. It's true. But it's true. You don't eat the olah. But why doesn't this verse apply to this specific case as well? That is the Gemara's question. Mr. Safdie, is it clear? Now the Gemara is going to say a very similar answer that we said before. Look what the Gemara is going to say. So, it sounds like, first of all, it sounds like here the language of the Gemara is we're talking about the meat. Once it's slaughtered, there's a prohibition to go. But I'm not sure if the animal you brought in the courtyard and it's walking around and you bring it outside, I'm not sure that that's the prohibition. The prohibition is talking about meat. What? His question was if he had it. That was his as a korban. That might not be enough to say it can't. Listen, you designate it as the olah in your backyard in Tel Aviv. You can designate it as olah. It's walking around in Tel Aviv. You know, you designate this animal. Right, so the fact that it's not in the status of meat yet, that doesn't seem to be, most probably it's not the problem we're talking about. Once you slaughter the animal and it's meat, basa, it's called basa, it's not called an animal, it's called the meat. At least the case, it sounds like from the Gemara, talking about meat that left, it didn't walk out. You brought out the meat. What did you say, Mr. Batesh? Yes, it has to be slaughtered in the courtyard. And by the way, the holy animals have to be slaughtered in a specific area in the north, in the courtyard. You know, everything else has, all other non-holy animals can be slaughtered any place in the courtyard, north side, south side, west, east. But the holy holies is in the north. Good morning, Aaron. So the Gemara says the following. Honey Mile, the Gemara says we are on 18a2. So the Gemara says top right column. Honey Mile, the case again. What is the case of the Torah? The case of the Torah is if the meat leaves the designated area, then you can't eat that meat. But it has to be meat. But what's the case is? The case is meat that, meaning if it didn't leave the courtyard, you could eat it. But the pasuk is telling you, I have a prohibition on meat that left the courtyard. Now you can't eat it. So the Torah's prohibition is talking about a food that you have the ability to eat when it's inside, but the Torah is telling you, but not on the outside. But an olah, but this carbon olah, which is completely consumed on the altar, had never had the opportunity to be eaten on the inside. So therefore, the case of the Torah, when the Torah is placing the violation is specific to a specific case of an item that could be eaten on the inside and not on the outside. But this case, when it's a carbon olah, when it has no right to be anywhere, supposed to only be on the altar, that's not what this prohibition. So we're still back to the 5. We didn't find number 6. That's what the Gemara is going to say. Hani Mile, this didn't get in. We didn't get it in. Right. The lawyer defended the guy and said there's no 6 violation. Right. And that's what the Gemara exactly. Hani Mile, the Gemara says, when does this prohibition apply? Hani Mile hechet bifnim chazi. When it was fit on the inside, you could eat it on the inside, but here in our situation, the bifnim inside, nami lo chazi, is also not fit. Therefore, this prohibition does not apply. Rashi points out an interesting drasha that the Gemara has somewhere else regarding this. Let's say you have an animal. And before you slaughtered the animal had a fetus inside the animal, right? And the law is that when you slaughter an animal and there's a fetus inside the animal, the slaughtering of the mother covers the baby. Technically, the baby is covered. And even if the baby technically walks out, he walks out and he's walking, he technically does not need a slaughtering. And I think the reason, but rabbinically you need a slaughtering because what's that again? That means like this: you slaughter the animal, and then after you slaughter the animal, and a calf walks out, a little baby animal walks out of the mother, so what's the status of that calf? So you might have thought that, you know what, if you slaughtered the mother but you didn't slaughter the baby, so you would have, in order for you to eat this calf, could you shoot the calf? So technically, you could shoot the calf on a Torah level. Why could you shoot it? What did you say? No, if you slaughter the animal could be pregnant. It's not no problem. The animal could be pregnant. You slaughtered the mother. It might have been to your advantage if you would have waited and have the calf born maybe beforehand. Because maybe when the mother died, when you slaughter the mother, there's a good chance that the animal might die also on the spot. I don't know how it works, but he didn't check. Maybe that might have practically might be better for the guy to wait to let the baby be born first, but he didn't do that. The animal walked out alive. Technically, the slaughtering of the mother covers the baby. That means anything that's inside the animal. That means in English, the animal doesn't need to be slaughtered. So you know what you could do? Technically, you could take if you want to take let's say the animal right after it walks out, let's say 30 minutes later, it walks out and then it dies on the spot. Can I eat that baby calf animal without shechting? So the answer is yes. Why? On a Torah level. Why? And you could shoot it technically. You could do anything to it. Why? The baby calf. Right. On a Torah level, yes. But I think on a rabbinic level, no. Why not on a rabbinic level? Because people are not going to know that this animal with the baby was born in the mother, and they're going to think if you shoot this animal and you can eat it, or the animal dies, they eat it. They'll think other animals. Right? A rabbinic protection, like the rabbis always had to protect us. The people shouldn't make mistakes. The Torah doesn't give us a reason why the Torah did not give us a reason why. It happens to be that the slaughtering process is this process that it's a 1-2 process, and you can't strangle. There can't be any nicks on the knife. We learned about that. You shouldn't strangle the animal. Yes, it is a very 1-2-3 process. Like, I don't know if I told you, when I went to the slaughterhouse, and I'll never forget in Baltimore, right behind him in the Star K, you have this rabbi. She was like a 70-year-old rabbi. He was about 5'4", and he had a knife that was almost bigger than him. Comes out with this knife, and this animal weighs a couple of 1,000 pounds, and he goes, and it's already finished. It took about 3 seconds. Now, of course, the animal made some noises, and a lot of blood comes out of the animal. It's not a pretty sight to watch, but it's 1-2. It's a 1-2, and it's and the knife is smooth. That one of the jobs of the shochet, he has to run his nail to make sure that his nail does not get caught in the blade, the sides of the blade, the front of the blade, on 3 sides. He makes sure there's no nicks, nothing. Nothing. It's a smooth. It's true. We do slaughter the animal. Hashem gives the mitzvah of slaughtering, and it is a process that's very, hopefully will not cause too much pain to the animal. But the Torah did not give exactly a reason for that. And therefore, even if it would be a type of situation where the animal would suffer, it would not invalidate the slaughtering. It doesn't need to be slaughtered, the animal, because it's covered by the mother. But if a part of the animal came out when the animal was alive, the mother was alive, and the baby put its foot outside the the mother, and then he brought the foot back in. And then you slaughtered the mother. You have the case, Simon? The baby put the foot out, then they put, so then that part of the animal that came out, even though it went back in, is not covered. That only that part only is not covered. What, say it again? The baby came out and they came back in. It's fine, it's fine. Whatever's in the animal is covered. Whatever's in the animal, you can, yes, because whatever, again, whatever you find in if you find a dead animal in the mother, that's covered, because whatever in the mother is covered. I mean, I would think, see here also, it wasn't the issue that we would have maybe with other animals might not apply. I mean, because it never was walking around. Meaning,
It's covered by the mother. No, but that's for eating, actually.
but I'm saying, well, it has this. The baby should have the status of the mother. The baby should be whatever the mother is. Again, that means if your mother was a
Yeah, but you can't offer the baby as a new sacrifice.
I mean, you're saying if it was an existing sacrifice, the baby would have to look more into those laws of sacrifice, how it applied. But getting back to our Gemara, so that the Gemara, the Gemara says, no, he's saying you already consecrate. No, he's saying you already consecrate. Let's say the mother as a korban.
Okay.
And what's the status? And now you slaughtered. Let's say you made this a korban chata. Now what do you do with the baby? The mother is the korban, and now the carry. That's what it is. That's a good question. So the Gemara is saying ubasa basodeh, the meat that goes into the field, meaning the drash is if it goes out, that meat that came out of the mother into the outside the confines of the mother, ubasa basodeh, that you can't eat. Treifa lo sachelu. So that also applies. So this verse teaches us multiple things. It teaches us about the animal, the meat that left the courtyard. Basa basodeh, went out into the field, outside the confines, the open territory. It is forbidden for you to eat that meat. And also teaches us about the part of the animal that comes out. The basa basodeh came out of the mother when the mother was alive. You're also not allowed to eat that part that came out, even though it subsequently went back in. So whatever came out is death. You can't. Whatever came out, right? Not right. That's like Eva Menachai. It's very similar to Eva Menachai, a limb from a live animal, but right. Any part of the animal didn't come out. Any part out. Because it's very good. But, right, so the Gemara is saying there's the extra word basadeh. The Gemara is the drash is the fact that the Torah says the word field, meat in the field that was ripped apart. The Torah did not have to emphasize the word field, where it happened. Where did the accident take place? By writing ubasa basadeh, by emphasizing the field, the field represents something outside its boundary, outside a confined place, an open area. So the Gemara is saying it's referring to multiple things. It's referring to the open area that's outside the animal itself. It means the baby, part of the baby came outside. Part of the baby came out. It's out of the field. It's out. That's how the Gemara is understanding it. So the Gemara now says, yes. I mean, because Rava, right, because Rava was saying, according to Rabbi Shimon, that there's 5 violations. That's where Rava was addressing the point, according to Rabbi Shimon's opinion. That's why Rava before was talking about the 5 violations. And now the Gemara is just asking, why does Rava only come up with 5? Why isn't there 6? We'll see tomorrow. The Gemara is going to suggest we have a different verse in the Torah. Why doesn't he use the next verse to tell us number 6? And we'll see what the Gemara is going to say. Stay tuned, everybody. So it's a complicated Gemara. Thank you all for being here, and have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
And thank you. Mr. Batesh, all the best. Thank you for being on. You got it. Have a great day. You look great.
It looks good, but I don't feel good.
You got to feel as good as you look. That's the bottom line. Okay. Take care. Have a great day.
Have a good day.
Take care, Jaime.
They didn't check animals for their pregnancy before they slaughtered them?
I would think